Hear ye, all citizens of the Comicsgate Empire. Welcome to CG Herald drawstream. Today we are going to be drawing John Byrne characters. And I would be remiss to not remind you that I may not have the same amount of skills as the Comicsgate Kings, but I have as much of an ego to stay out of the serfdom. So there we go. That is slowly becoming my catchphrase for these shows. So yeah, we're going to be doing some John Byrne characters. One specifically, which I will get into after the introductions. Now, one thing that I did want to say, and I'm probably going to be letting down some of you, I do not have an encyclopedic knowledge of like mainstream comics. So I did have to go and look up what characters John Byrne has created. And to do that, I went to his Wikipedia page. Where are we? There we go. And I did a little quick run through here just to see like what some of the characters are that he created. And I did learn some of the ones that he either co-created or created. Now, John Byrne is he's a writer and an artist in the comic book industry. One of the greats, definitely. So if you want to go and check out his work, then you can see like a brief look on his Wikipedia page, and something that has been much more topical recently, the publication or soon to be publication of his, I guess it was like his fan fiction of X-Men that he drew like just because he wanted to. Like Marvel didn't tell him to draw it. He just drew it, wrote it, and got all of that. There's like several volumes of it. And now they're putting it out, and it's selling like hotcakes. So if you can, and it's not sold out already, go and grab a copy, because this guy seems like he put his heart and soul into this, and it looks really cool. So, with all of that shilling out of the way, what I'm going to do is I will show you the character that I'm going to be drawing. And that is the character of, sharing screens all the time over here. And that is the character of Talisman. And this is a member of the superhero team Alpha Flight. And this is Elizabeth Two Young Men, which I do have to admit, I did laugh a little bit whenever I saw that name. But whenever I was looking at his page, I was seeing people like Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost, like actual characters that you would know just like off the top of your head. And I was like, I wanted to try something that was a little bit less well known. So I figured, why not try drawing this character? And she looks like she would be quite interesting. She does. From the brief look that I took at her Wikipedia page, because I haven't actually seen her in any comics, like, or if I have seen her, then I probably just like breezed over her. She has a little bit of an arrogance to her, so that might be a bit fun to try to put into the facial expressions and poses, but we shall see if I actually get that far. So I am going to pull up my my screen recording or my screen share, whichever one it is. Guess it could be both because it would be it's like the screen is like the blah, blah, blah. The live stream is recording it. So it could be either one. So let's do this before I lose it. Okay. Share screen. There we go. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try something. I'm going to try actually recording it and seeing if I can do this as having it like as a background. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It is like if I do a commentary video and I just decide to just throw this up as the background drawing, maybe I could do that. We'll see. All right, so I have my I have my laptop over here. It has like the reference images for what I'm going to be trying to draw, like her costume, the pose, and everything like that. So we shall see how this turns out. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time than usual. I did just recently, and this is going to be part of a video that will be coming out at some point this week. I tried to draw a character while participating in a challenge. This is more of like a self-imposed challenge. So, wrong color. There we go. All right. So let's try and get that line of motion going. That might. There we go. And what I have noticed is that the shoulders for like female characters are usually about as wide as the hips, maybe sometimes a little bit smaller, and depending on the character. But that is usually how I want it to look. Because, like in the reference images that you see for Talisman, or even just like the one that pops up on her Wikipedia page, it looks like she's not buff like She-Hulk, and she's not like necessarily like toned. She's more like thin, I guess. Thin, but she could handle herself because she is she uses magic whenever she is like that's part of her power. What I'm going to try to do is try to get out the rough sketch as quickly as possible, and then I'll go in and get the details. Okay, so no. There we go. Okay. I have to get the curvature of the body right. So let's move that up a bit so that I can have enough space for the legs. What I'm going to actually, let's try this. No. I'm going to get through the sketch first, and then I'm going to try something different with the stream, because sometimes I may just want to zone out and just draw a little bit. So in times like that, I want to be able to have something here for you guys to actually listen to. So I may end up putting some music on later and see if you guys can hear it. It'll have to be like one of those like non-copyright hour-long hour-long compilations or whatever, but I'll make sure to pick out a cool one for you. Okay. So let's make I may need to make her torso a bit smaller. We'll see. Okay. Right there. Okay. So knee would be right around here, which makes sense. And then let's throw another one. Let's throw the other leg on here. So it's like the thigh is further out than where the hip would be. All right. And sometimes I find that whenever I put a like a three-dimensional drawing or like the outline of like the shape of a body part, it makes it so much easier for it to stand out um as a three-dimensional object. And it makes it look much less flat on my end. So I'm going to do that here. So let's get this going. Actually, if that leg is supposed to be like coming forward, so there's supposed to be like some sort of perspective change. So the knee should be higher than the other one. So I need to change that ever so slightly. All right. Throw that up there. Have it right above where the other knee would be. And maybe angle it slightly inward so it goes over top of the other leg. Okay. That works. Then it goes over top. Get the kneecap. Right about there. And then let's get the other kneecap of the other leg. It's going to be on the outward side of this one. So it'd be right about there. Have the leg curving upwards. And then go down from the kneecap. Curving down. And this is the part that always throws me for a loop because the calf muscle is going to, that one always throws me for a loop whenever it comes to drawing that, because sometimes it goes too high and sometimes it goes too low, and it throws off the balance a bit. So I figured out what the issue was. So I was trying to make it look two-dimensional. It needs to be on both sides, or needs to be visible on both sides. But the bone in the bottom of the leg, I'm not like a doctor or anything, so I don't know what the name of it is, but it just goes right down the middle. And sometimes I keep forgetting that, and I forget that that bone is there. But whenever I do remember it, it helps me actually make the leg look more presentable. So, much prefer it that way. Okay. And then the other side of her, it would be the right leg, is just around the other side of her left leg. So that works for where the placement is. Although I may have made her slightly too thick, but I'm not going to complain. Okay. All right. So no, that's definitely too thick. If I shorten down her body at all, then that would just make her way too thick. This needs to be more uniform. So I can get her head in at the end, and then also be able to have her feet. So let's try to draw these. And whenever it comes to drawing feet, I hate them just as much as hands. It's like there is a delicate balance to drawing comic book feet. And sometimes they just look like they take up way too much space. And other times they look like a deformed hunchback. But this one I think is actually turning out decent. So let's hope that it stays that way. No, that needs to curve in more. Okay. No. No, that works. That works for now. Okay. Now we move up to the arms. And let's put those going right down here. And the elbows would be like right around here. Let's make this look like a 3D space so that I can visualize how that's going to look. That's where the collarbone would be. Okay. And through. Nope. There needs to be more angle to that. But that line can stay. Okay. So that part looks all right for now. Then let's get over to this arm. I'll choose my battles wisely. So down here. What I'm gonna have it be is so like she's sort of like levitating with like her magic. So I want to have her arms out like at her sides, like she's like propelling herself upwards, or sort of like how you would see like a telepath like levitating themselves using their powers. So I'm going to do something along those lines here. Okay. Got that. Got that. That is way too big of a forearm. Okay. So let's add. Let's finish up the upper body, and then we can get into the hands. Because the hands, I'm going to take a little bit more time than I usually would, and try to make them a little bit more presentable or more accurate. So let's get into that. Okay. All right. And that makes the body curve in more. That just makes her look flat. And I don't want this to have like a tangent with the arm, so let's try. Let's try this. All right. And make that three-dimensional. Okay. Ever so slightly better. Can work on the figure posing a little bit, but not right now. So, okay. So collarbones would be right about there. And then let's do Something is seeming off. What is off? I'm going to test something. Give me a second, guys. Not uniform. Let's scrunch those up a bit. And then throw those up here. I don't know if that helped or not. Might have. Possibly. I'm going to say that helped. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to say that helped. Okay. Now we're going to get into the hands. So I think I may have actually just figured out what has been causing my hand problems. I think it may literally be this right here. that little downward indent in your hand. That may have just been what was making me hate my hand drawings. It needs to be ever so slightly bigger, but it's not unbearable. Let's do... Okay, so these two on the end are going to be somewhat closer together. Okay. That might be too big for the pinky finger. Yep. But we cut it right in the middle. Pardon me. All right. Okay, I may have figured out my hand problem, and I don't know how I haven't figured this out before. So, to make the tip ever so slightly smaller than the rest of it, expand down to about the second knuckle from the tip, and then thin it down. So that it looks like it's not all one size. That honestly may have fixed my problem. I don't hate how this hand is turning out. I like it. Yeah, that is actually turning out really good. Could be a little bit bigger, but it's not bad. So I'm going to take that as a win. I am going to blow it up a tiny bit. So just so I can see if it looks better, a little bit better proportion. That actually doesn't look bad. Yeah, that's better than the smaller one that was there, but it at least looks like a hand. Like whenever I would draw it before, I usually try to get through it or I tried to get through it as quickly as possible because I just want to get it done. But I can tell you exactly why I was drawing it that way, because whenever I would see like a Bruce Timm drawing and his stuff is like very simplistic, it's something that you think you can draw very quickly. Like you can just draw this, draw that, throw a thumb in there. Yeah, this is exactly what I would do. And then throw on like the fingers this way and like combine the two in the middle because they would just um they would just stick together because it's a simplistic drawing, and throw one in the middle, angle it ever so slightly at the end so that it looks like there's a top and a bottom, go from there, and then do the pinky one a little bit shorter. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do beforehand. This one up here, this one looks 10 times better than the one that I just threw together in like 5 seconds. So that's what I think I just figured out my problem. And now I don't need to worry about going back to it. So we'll see if that holds true with the other hand on the other side. I can go for a little bit larger hand. Tiny bit. Okay, that should be, let's see. I'm trying to like measure on my arm to see how big this should be. It's comic art. It's not going to be entirely true to life, so I think it could stand that way. You can go with that. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make these, pardon the description, a little bit more saggy. And not because she's old or anything, but like, at least based on the costume, it doesn't look like she wears really anything to hold them up. So it's not like Power Girl where you can pretty much imagine that she has maybe like a push-up bra or something. So let's get that on there. And onto this. What do I want her to be doing with this hand? I think I'll have... How am I going to do this? Okay, so if the hand is here, I'm going to try to make this look presentable from a different angle than what I had the other one in, just as a way to challenge myself. And throw that on there. And then that's like where the hand, like the wrist tendons would be. How's this gonna look? Like, if I have, hold on. If I had the hand down here, it would be coming up from the wrist. Okay. And then this one's going to be interesting. Just so I don't mess it up, let's do... I'm going to try to make it so that she's like curling her fingers in a little bit. Sort of like that. And then going from there. That looks like a cobra. But it looks slightly better. I can get behind that. All right. Now, that's where the palm would be. Yeah, right about there. Yep. And then, because she is a character that does have like a massive amount of power, not like Jean Grey levels of power, but still significant amount of power. So she does have a bit of an arrogance to her. So it would make sense that she would be like clenching her fingers a little bit like that. So now I just have to think of how to do this and make it look decent like the other one. I propped myself up a little bit too much with the other hand, so let's try this one and try and make it look decent. So yeah, it's going on the inside, curving inward. Let's try to make the basic outline first. Right about there. And then we can divide it up. Because that would be the pinky. And wouldn't take up as much space as the other ones. So that works. That's good. If I sound like I'm reassuring myself too much, it's because I am. As this is actually legitimately the most thought that I've put into drawing a hand, because I actually want it to look good. Like I've been saying in the intros, I have enough of an ego to want to stay out of the serfdom, and I want to actually be able to earn that ego. So yeah, that's why I'm sort of delaying myself purposefully whenever it comes to these fingers. So I want it to look good. I want it to look better than what I have made before, because art is a constant learning process, and It is a cruel, cruel mistress. Okay, got that there. There's going to be a slight tangent between where the pointer finger intersects with the tendon from the thumb to the rest of the hand, but it's not something that's like crazy. So I'm going to accept that. Honestly, this is probably more me just proving to myself that I can draw hands and just happening to do it on a live stream. Okay. I don't think that needs resizing, but maybe it does. I'll try resizing it just a tiny bit. And we'll see if it needs anything more. That I don't want to size it up any more than that because it already looks around the same size as the other hand. Okay, so now let's do the face. And I want her to be sort of like looking up and to the back. So where do I want there to be? She has sort of like a long face from what I can see. So let's do somewhat of an oval. And angle it. I need to add some more circular part to it, sort of like a skull. So there. Then okay, that can work. Then that's where the ear would be, so it's like the side of the head. Okay. I can get behind that. Then the jaw would be right about there. Down to the chin. Like I said, she has a little bit more of a long face, so right to there. Straight up. All right. Now, do I think that head needs to be a little bit bigger? Hell yeah. So, need to keep it long and not wide. So, let's make it proportionally sized, but still have a big enough head where it can stand out. So, one sec, I'm going to try something, guys. No, I don't need that. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to see if I can view the rumble stream. Just to see if there's anybody chatting over there. And there is not at the moment. So, just wanted to make sure I wasn't like leaving any of you guys hanging. Okay, back to getting this head done. Okay. And yeah, that works right there. And then the neck. I'm going to make her neck a little bit longer because like it would make her artificially taller. And based on what I have read about her, it would fit in with her personality. So let's go with that. And that would go right down to there. No. There we go. Okay, that works. You get that. Elongate the skull ever so slightly so that I can actually have space back there to work. Then we can adjust other body parts as needed. So throw this here. Make that slightly bigger shoulder. And by that I mean very, very slightly. Okay. Let's get into the face a bit. Now, can I pull a rabbit out of a hat and do the same thing that I was doing with the hand and make it actually look presentable? Or actually even better than presentable. Can I make the face look pretty? It's the big question on everybody's lips. Or mine. Alright. Got that. Make that look a bit more three-dimensional. Add the other nostril on the other end. Okay. And then, she would probably have, like, based on the character designs that I've seen of this character, she seems like she has, like, long everything. So it's like long face, long nose, long arms, long legs. Definitely not complaining about the long legs. So let's make that slight bit more long and pointy-ish. So got that. Got the nostrils on the bottom there. And then this is where the eye area would be up here. And I'm going to impart a little bit of wisdom to you guys because I didn't learn this until recently. Whenever you have like that little, if you're trying to draw a head like this and you have that line going through the middle of the head, that is for the eyebrows. That's not where the eye falls. It's for the eyebrows. I learned that on TikTok, and it has changed the way that I have drawn faces. And so far, it has definitely helped. So let's try Let's see, this is where the nose would be, or like the lead into the nose, I guess you would say. And this is where the eye cavity would be. Let's see, cheekbones would be about here, so it's above the nose. And she would definitely have higher cheekbones. So right about there. That. It's going to be one hell of a sketch. I can definitely tell you that. Okay, so that. You come down from here. Down from here. Right about here is where the mouth should be. Now, do I want her to have more full lips, or do I want her to have thinner lips? It's the question on everybody's lips. Let's toss this around a little bit. Because I could give her very thin lips and see how that looks. I'm going to try this and see how it goes. And I'm probably going to go silent a little bit here, guys, because this one may take a little bit of just futzing around and seeing how this mouth is going to look. So, no, I just made her lip bigger. I follow a lot of like artists on Instagram, and some of them they draw the perfect mouths. Like the one that I'm thinking of right now, and I'm not sure if it would fit her character. But I'm thinking like Ed Bennett's, and it's just like I don't know how to describe it, but it might not work with her. It might not work with Talisman. Let's put her teeth in. Only up at the top. And then that just looks weird. Put the tongue in. No, again, that looks weird. I'm going to accept that. That looks decent. Okay. And then let's try for... I'm going to try for eyes that aren't very open, sort of like she's like squinting in disdain. So... This part might be another one where I go a little bit quiet there, guys. Okay. How... Work it out with shapes. The eye would be right about... here. And this one to be right about here. So this eyelid would go right there. That one might be a little bit too much. I don't know. We'll see how this turns out. I don't know. I may have just made her too Asian. No, let's see. She's going to be looking down. So okay, I don't mind that. That let's try. I don't mind that. Those eyes actually don't look bad. So I'm going to keep that the way that it is. Do I add eyelashes? Give me a moment, guys. I have to consult Google and get a close-up picture. Okay. It's not as close as I wanted it to be, but it's close enough. So let's add little bits to it. Just to inject a little bit more femininity. I don't need that. Something is still up with that mouth. Does it need turned a bit? Because it almost looks like it's resting on her face rather than being a part of her face. That might... I think that just fixed the issue, so I'm going to go with that. And then she has... Come on, unzoom Google. She has a talisman on her head that I need to draw. And I need to figure out what shape it's in. So it almost looks like a bulky heart on like a gold tiara. Is that a tiara? Yeah, it's sort of like what Wonder Woman wears. So okay, let's get that done, and then I'll get into drawing the outfit. So get that going all the way down right there to where right between where her eyelashes are, which I still need to add. Nah, I made the eyes demure enough. She needs to have some ferocity to her. I'm not sure how that's going to translate, but think it works for now. So we have that. Talisman meeting in the middle. And by the way, guys, I'm going to try to ink this, but not color it per se. So maybe that will happen way, way, way further on down the line, but not right now. So I'll go to the side, as will this part. It comes from underneath the talisman rather than from the side of it. Okay. And something about that is messing me up. I think the left eye is a little bit too high up, so let's try and remedy that. It may be too high up and it may be too small. Give me a second. Uniform. Yeah, it was definitely too high up before. There we go. That's much better. Okay. It's funny how like the tiniest things can throw you off. It's like if an eye is too high up, it's just like it throws off the face entirely, even if it's just like a centimeter. And there are times whenever I don't allow myself to just like sit down and take the time to fix that. So I think that's probably why some of my art turns out just like looking weird, to me at least. All right. So she is going to be relatively easy whenever it comes to hair because she has like a single part down the middle as I run my hand through my thinning non-existent hair. And yeah, it's parted down the middle and it's just like straight. So it's not curly or anything, so that should be simple enough for me to draw. Let's have that be where it starts. And go out from there. So how high do I want that to be? Let's try this. Hold on a second. Because this is another thing that I sometimes have a little bit of difficulty with. It's drawing the beginning of the hair. It's like sometimes I draw the beginning wisp way too high. And other times, like I haven't gotten it to like a point where it's like too low, but I'm gonna try to make this look presentable and accurate to the character. So, right about there could work. Yeah, let's do that. And we can throw that on that side. And then that part would go around there. Hairline would go down around this side. Down to where the ear would be, which would be right around here-ish. That's going to be covering up where her ear is. So that's not going to be a problem. So how am I going to do this without having too many strands? Let's have it be right. No. Nope. Okay, where do I want it to end up? Let's see, that's the side of the head. That's where the talisman ends. Sorry, guys, I'm working on facial structure. I gotta be quiet for a little bit. Okay. All right, that works. I can get behind that, at least for now. And where do I want that strand to end up? Because now I need to plan out where the hair is going to go. And I don't want it to be like all over the place. I want it to be like in one specific place. So let's have it end around here. And have one of the strands go from here. Okay, I can get behind that. All right. Plan is in motion. And let's try to do the same thing that we did with the hands, with the hair, and take our time to make it look hella good. All right. I like that so far. But let's make this a tiny bit more presentable. Okay. And then all the rest of this would flow down this way. And the lines of it curve here. Let's see. Let's block out the hair. So right there, have a little bit of a division here. Then have it straighten out right there. We can add some more bits of the hair sticking out. Okay. And then just throw in some other strands. Good Lord. Gonna be a second one. Okay. There wasn't a second one. I surprised even myself. StreamYard, of course, StreamYard showing a window. And my That was so close. Okay. I almost ripped my earphones out. Okay. So that will come down from here. And that goes up to here. Let's add another strand that would come down to around here. Now, this is the kind of hair that I have always wanted to draw, but never seems to work out for me because it all seems too parallel to each other. This time, it actually seems to be working, so I'm happy. I am happy. Let's have that go over her shoulder, or go in front of her shoulder. That go there, go in front of the talisman, and right to that same area that this is coming from. Right. That looks good. Now I just need to remember to put in like different line weights for this whenever I'm inking it, and we'll be good to go. Now, onto the other side, because that's going to be a whole different thing right there. So put that there for a little bit of difference. Okay, so I want all of the hair to be flowing to this side. So let's have it dip down. That might be too steep of a dip. Have it go around her ear. And then all the stuff that's behind her ear would just come around on this side, like around. Whoa. For a second there, the screen just went like weird. Okay, so from around her skull. There we go. Okay. That could work. So have that slight dip there. Come out. And go around to her back. That as a division. That, okay. Yeah, because this could pull her hair further around, while this part would be like, I don't know, stuck on something. And then that would lead to more lines coming this way. Yeah, that works. All right, get that. Get the different parts so that it's not parallel to each other. Right there. Leave that. All right. Have that now set up, and if I went in to ink it, then I would be able to tell where everything is going. This is actually turning out pretty darn good for a character that I didn't know an hour and 16 minutes ago. Alrighty. That works. Now let's get the jaw. Go right up to there. And then her neck would go up behind her ear. So that would work. Okay. And now let's get the bottom of her. Yeah, because she has like a skin tight outfit. Or mostly skin tight outfit in the places that matter, if you know what I mean. So let's put this here. That. No, it needs to come from, let it come from there. And then I'll have a smaller strand coming here. And since this takes care of that area, let's put a, okay, that's what threw me off. Let's put a big one right here. Have it go all the way through. Just like that. And then that can go down here. That would connect to here. That right there, and that would just link up behind here. That could work. But it just has to be a slight division here, just so it doesn't look like one big chunk. Okay. I can get behind that. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but it's not all the time whenever something actually turns out better than you expected it to. So I'm going to keep saying it for as long as I want. And yeah, okay. Let's add some slight details to the talisman. That's supposed to be like a three-dimensional object. Okay. Do I want to try adding the iris? Yes. Okay. That looks good. Now that I have the body, I think she needs more back there. More on her back. So let's, that works. Okay. And now let's work on the costume. So collarbone, because those are both exposed. And how do I draw this? Okay, so she has like skin tight sleeves on both arms. I think it'll be easier just to draw it. So gotta get that. No, I'm cutting it too low. One of my problems that I've found is that sometimes I want to highlight certain parts too much, and it gets in the way of how something is actually supposed to look. So I need to force myself to not do that. So that would be right about there. That. Yeah, that'd be where that is. And that can go in front of the hair strand. And that would just go right down her arm. Because there's a little bit of a spike to it. It's like a different part of the costume. It's like there's the gold part, and then there's mostly the red part. So let's take care of that on this side. Pardon me. And that would come right up there. And right up there on that side too. It goes right over the top of her boob. This would not be visible right there. That would be. Okay, so that, a little bit of tension there. Going right over. And this is what I was meaning earlier, where she doesn't really have any like bra straps or anything to hold that up. So that's why I'm drawing it this way. Okay. So this, she almost has like a Madeline Pryor sort of thing going, where it's like there's a boob window on the underside of her boobs. So this actually goes right along with that. So okay. And on this side too. And then it goes right down her stomach. And since I have her torso twisted, I'm going to have that follow the curvature of that. All right. And then whenever we get down to like the hands, she has almost like oversized sleeves that's only part of like her hand area. So it's like, how can I draw this? No, that, feel it out. Okay. Much better. Much better than it was going to turn out. Because there still needs to be that little indent so you can see where the hand sort of like falls down from the forearm. But I could make that slightly longer. Make it a little bit more stylized. Get some more of that in there. And then throw that on this side. Since it's a loose bit of fabric, it would be falling down this way. Unless it was held up solely by tension, which is a possibility. I'm going to go with that. Yep, I'm going to go with that because that makes a little bit of sense. Okay. And let's get to the bottom part of her costume. I need to stretch my back out a little bit whenever I'm done with this. Okay, so her costume is mostly like red and gold. And the part that I've outlined up at the top, like this part up here and this part, and like the outer parts of it, like the trim, that's usually the gold part. I'm gonna erase those X's because I don't want to confuse myself if I go back to ink this. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the red and the gold. So the red part is the part that takes up most of like the insides of this costume's look. So like this part. Whereas there's going to be some trim that's going to be partly like a dress type of thing, sort of like a how do I put it? If you have ever seen like Katana or Melina, no, not Melina. Yeah, Katana from Mortal Kombat, then it's would be sort of like that type of like bottom part of the dress. It's like skin tight up at the waist area, but flowy down at the bottom. So that's what this costume mostly looks like, with like an added little bit on her thigh. So I'm going to try something. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get to inking this tonight, or if I may just do that on a different stream at some point. I don't know. I might just want to just end this on a high note because honestly, this sketch is for a character that I didn't know 2 hours ago. This is turning out to be one of the best sketches that I've done, and I'm happy with that. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm a happy man. And then let's put it so that the bottom of this dress, like the flowy part, goes between her thighs. That's not going to be seen very well, but whatever. And then, yeah, let's do it this way. So there's some sort of like crossover. And then, or Yeah, that's where it can be. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. That looks good so far. Now, I was I was just saying literally a second ago that I wanted to have like the middle part of the dress area go between her thighs, but I'm thinking that I might want it to go over top. Can I make that work? Because what I can do is I can have it go here, have it get stuck between her thighs, and then have it go around her knee, and then over. Sort of like that. I'm actually liking that idea better. Definitely liking that idea better. And what I'm thinking is that it won't have to have as many lines as like the hair did. It'll just have to have like lines where it's scrunched up a bit. So right here is where it can be. And let's make this wider. That go there. So it goes in. Have that as a separation point. Like that. Then have that follow through. So it ends up here. So it looks a little bit more wispy. All right. And that's all one solid color. It's not like see-through. So that can work. Let's throw that there. Throw that. And that can work. But she also has the back to it. So we can put that. What we can do is make the back a little bit bigger than what's on the front. And have it stand out a bit more. And have it go opposite the way that the front was. But right now, I'm back to second guessing how big these legs are. So let's move all of this stuff inward. And we can go from there. It actually looks so much better. I like that. I actually like that a lot. Since that would be coming in. There we go. Okay. Okay, okay. That cut in there. Yeah, it's almost like a J. Scott Campbell type body type. I like it. Okay. Let's throw some... There were some wrinkles in here. And in those areas where it's almost like skin tight, you don't need to have that much. All right. Oh, yeah, shoes. Gotta have the shoes. It almost looks like she has like Hermes type shoes, like the Greek god Hermes. Although, is that Greek or Roman? I'm never too sure. So, in this reference image, it almost looks like she has like very short high heels with like wings on the sides. But the way that I have these ankle or feet drawn, you're not going to see the heel. So, what we can do is we can just draw the ankle. And that might be too thick of a thing for the ankle because it's not the main focus. All right. Have that curving over there. That one on this side actually works out perfectly. All right. And oh, come on. Can I only zoom in on Google? Okay. Now I just need to find a good picture with her feet in it. Okay, those aren't actually wings. They're just like slanted things. It's almost like a boot that just like got cut open and is just like the sides are just standing straight up. So I almost liked it better when I thought it was wings. Because it almost looks like it. All right, got that side. Got this one. And then we've only got this side here. Since this leg is at a different angle, then it would look different. Alrighty. So, guys, I've been going for an hour and 41 minutes. I would say that this is actually pretty damn good, considering how well it has turned out. I think one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw like her magic powers, and then I'm going to call it a day because this is actually really, really good. And I don't want to mess with that. So, give me a moment. I just have to pull up like how some of this magic stuff looks. Oh, dang it, I closed out of the window. Okay. Yep. Okay, that doesn't look too crazy. So let's put this on a different layer. Let's make this red. Just for the hell of it. And that'll be a ball of energy around her hand. And there'll be parts of it that are like shooting out from it. All right. I don't want to cover up the hair too much because I like how it turned out. So I'm going to only do little bits right here. And then widen the distance. And I'll have this disappear behind her legs. While I have this part get a little bit bigger. And there we go. That a little bit smaller and disappear. Okay. And then this part over here, I wanted it to be so that she'd be like propelling herself upwards. So that. There we go. And boom. And boom. Okay. And then we have the inner parts of it, which will look more scatterbrained. That does not fit in, but actually looks better than... Well, when you zoom out, it doesn't look half bad. For a sketch. Okay. So now, with this one, I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. It's going to be a slight glow around the outside, or outline, I guess you could say. And then, so it'll give like the magic like a slightly physical presence. It's sort of like if you look at like glass and you put a finger up to it and you can see like there's a like it looks like you're touching air, and you can still see through it. So I'm trying to look at like the magic as sort of like glass. Okay. Got that. Okay. Okay. I like how that turned out. Yeah, that's some kick-ass work. Okay. Just for the hell of it. Since this is colored differently, I might as well put that on there. Okay, there. I like it. All right, so that's definitely it. Wait, what the heck? Okay. Sorry, I was looking at like the cover for Alpha Flight that was introducing Talisman, and the colors for like the lower part of her dress were way different than the reference picture that I was looking at before. So it just threw me for a loop there for a second. But yeah, this turned out better than like any of the previous stuff that I've done. And I'm quite surprised by that because like I'm gonna let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. I well, I told you at the beginning of the stream, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of um of mainstream comic characters, and I had to look up this character on John Byrne's Wikipedia page, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be like a character that I want to draw a female." And I was like, who's one that I can mess around with and just try to draw to the best of my ability?" And I just picked her mainly because it was like she has an interesting costume and she's one that I didn't know before. And she wasn't one that was going to be like sticking out like Emma Frost or Kitty Pryde. So for a an unknown character to me, being able to make her look this good to me, like this is probably nothing compared to the actual CG Kings. They're gonna knock out something fantastic and like otherworldly. For me to be able to pull this off, that is, I'm patting myself on the back on that one. This is really good so far. I could I could ink it and like completely botch it, but that'll be for another time if I decide to do it. So, but yeah, that actually looks like a really good face. You know, I'm going to do one more thing. Let's add the, oh, that's a different color blue. I'm going to add the little reflective parts of the eye. So there we go. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is Talisman. So I'm going to click my mouse so I can actually move it again. And I'm going to stop recording that. And there we go. Okay. That, I would say, was quite successful. I hope that those of you who did pop in were, what the heck just happened? Okay. I hope that... Oh, it's probably... It still has to save the recording. Let's get out of that. And I can say my goodbyes. So, as I've tried now several times to end the stream properly, thank you guys for coming in. Like I said, that was quite surprising. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching whenever you were popping in, because I did see some people. So thank you guys for popping up. If you want to see more of these videos, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I am going to be putting out some more videos, like my pop culture thought, or my thoughts on pop culture, art challenges, and I guess you can say like some comedic videos mixed with art. So if that seems like your cup of tea, definitely hit that subscribe button and that follow button over on Rumble as well. I'm trying to grow in both areas. And yeah, I'm going to be streaming far more often, maybe doing some more promotional streams as well, in addition to these draw streams. At some point, I'm going to get different intros other than the one that you see on this one. But yeah, I'm going to stop rambling. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.